Hello there, and you're very welcome to another episode of the Arkham Avengers FFPL podcast. You join me, the host, along with Eamon, Hector, and Captain Fantastical Mick, where we take a look to see how the managers in this league are getting on for the season. However, we'll also be talking about much more. So kick back, stay tuned, and enjoy. Hello listeners, and you are very welcome to this special episode where we have an interview with one of the managers from the Arkham Avengers Fantasy Football Premier League. Today, of course, Eamon's here with me in the studio. I think we're in for a real treat here, aren't we, Eamon?
We certainly are, yes. I think this is, this is a really good interview. It's a really good manager we spoke to, and I think our listeners are going to enjoy it. I know I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the interview itself when we were recording it, and I've enjoyed listening to some of the segments of it, and I'm going to enjoy listening to the entirety of the interview when it's played and goes live.
We got a surprise when this manager turned up, because it's not what we expected, was it?
No, it wasn't what we expected. It was a surprise. I think you described it, have you, as like a 2-for-1 kind of option here, but yeah, I think you kind of just expect somebody and then something else happens here.
Yes, indeed. And we've no Hector here. We've actually managed to keep this in the can, and Hector is not aware of this yet.
No, he's not aware of this. But then again, Hector, he's like the Dougals of this world. I mean, you look at Hector and you think, oh, he's going to say it's a nice day or something. And the next thing he's probably going to say, I like the colour of the cushion there. In Hector's world, the reality versus his imagination is all over the place. Now, he doesn't know about this, and I'm really looking forward to seeing his reaction when he hears this. I'm surprised that we've been able to keep this so quiet. But then again, Hector hasn't been here much this week.
No, he's been busy.
Well, he's always busy doing something. I don't know what he does exactly.
All Hector's aside, what does this interview mean to you, Eamon?
Well, I think that, week in, week out, we talk about these managers. We discuss them. We talk about their tactics, their transfers, sometimes the no activity that comes out of them there. And we have interviewed, or some of our managers have been interviewed. I think you've interviewed them. I haven't. This is the first interview that I've ever been involved in. And when you hear the manager talking, the person talking, be the man or woman, you then have a connection with that person. Because when we are then talking about the good, the bad, and the goalie, Jerry's team, or Kane's the keeper, Devon's team, or Blightsome squads, you then realise, oh yes, I remember hearing that person. I heard them being interviewed. So that connection is there. You're building a bridge and a connection between who we're hearing about when we're talking and who the listeners hear during the interview. I think it brings like a family focus to this here. I mean, we're talking about managers week in, week out, and it's nice to hear the managers. And we're always looking to see the opportunity where we can interview any of the remaining managers, and hopefully during the course of the coming weeks, months ahead, perhaps we might have another manager to interview. And I'm sure our listeners would like that. The interview, and our listeners are going to hear this, we're going to play this very shortly now. We did touch on the football. We did you?
And then it decided, I think the interview took a complete different arc. And I think our listeners won't really expect this. Are our listeners expecting to hear all about football?
If you asked me that about probably a year ago, I probably would have said yes. They want to hear the football side of things. They want to hear how the managers are getting on. I think the diversity of our little show, when we talk about people go off on day trips, there's the movie reviews, we have the football as well there, but we are not tied to football. We are adaptable, we're changing, we're evolving, and I think our managers are now taking this direction as well. This manager certainly has taken it, and I think our listeners will be enthralled by what they hear. I've heard a rough cut of this, and I certainly was taken with it. I enjoyed it very much so, and I could have listened to this manager a lot more. Okay, I think we better stop waffling and play this interview before our listeners decide to turn off and think, are these two just going to chat away between themselves here? Okay, we're going to roll it, and we're going to play this interview now. So listeners, here is our manager interview coming up right now. Hello folks, and we have a very special episode for you here. We thought we were getting the recitation man to come in and say hello to us, and indeed he did make contact and said he would come in. Isn't that right, Eamon? Yes, that's right. He decided that he would come and take up Hector's offer. Hector asked him to come on, and yes, he has appeared here. This is the recitation man, of course, not Hector. Yes, no, Hector isn't with us for some reason. Hector had an issue with his glasses. He seems to have broke the arm off one, and he's had to go back to the opticians. Yes, well, Hector always has some excuse there. Anyway, moving along swiftly, we not only have the mystery recitation man with us here, listeners, we have the manager of Raglan Road. Yes, that's right, folks. The manager of Raglan Road is none other than our mystery recitation man, and we're very welcome to say hello in studio, live, to Owen. Owen, how are you keeping?
Doing very well now, Mr. Host. Glad to get here now. It's pity Hector wasn't about now.
Well, you know something, it's just sod's law, isn't it, that Hector invited you to come on the show, you have arrived, and Hector isn't here. Well, that is just typical of Hector, you know. He puts out the red flag. He's waving it there, and the next thing he's gone. And I'm sure he's going to be kicking himself when he finds out what he's missed. Indeed, and stuff. But look, it's great to have you. And Owen, I mean, who knew that you, as one of the managers, was actually the recitation man? You kept that quiet, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, I suppose I was listening all the time, you see, so...
You just thought, look, I'll keep my powder dry, and then, lo and behold, it's a double whammy here. Look, it's great. I suppose, can we talk just for a moment here, just about the football side of things? And, I mean, if we talk about the season so far for Raglan, game week 1 saw you come in 10th place. And then game week 2, you dropped down to 17th place. But you did recover in game week 3 when you took 9th spot. And then you built on that. You jumped up to 5th in game week 4, followed by a 2nd place finish in game week 5. And you managed to hold on to that then, not only in game week 5, but game week 6. Now, you did have the little dip and drop down to 3rd in game week 8, with no match in game week 7, of course. However, game week 9, 10 and 11 saw you holding 2nd place, and then in game week 12 you took 1st spot, and you held on to 1st spot in the league table for game weeks 13, 14 and 15. Game week 16 saw you played the wild card, and since then there's been a slight change in your approach or your results here, because you dropped down to 3rd place. I know you did hold on to it for game week 17. However, game week 18 saw you drop further down to 4th place. Game week 19 saw another drop down to 6th place, and you did hold on to that for game week 20. But game week 21 saw you drop down again into 7th place. So since that wild card was played in game week 16, there's been such a turn of events. You're on the downward slide. What would you say, Eamon? Would you agree with that? I would, yes. I think that, in all fairness, your first part of the season up to game week 15 has been very good. I mean, you couldn't fault it, holding first place there, doing very well. Yeah, the wild card seems to have stumped you slightly, I think. And there has been a change in fortunes. Now, however, I wouldn't say that the season's over by any chance. 7th place is still, it's still doable to get a top 5 finish if that's what you're looking for. Yes, indeed, Eamon. So, for having held 1st place for 4 weeks, and you must be a little bit disappointed with the recent form there. And I mean, game week 22 isn't really showing much signs of improvement. If anything, we'd nearly say that the World Cup break hasn't helped you, and it's kind of had a negative knock-on effect. What would be your take or your say to that now?
Well, I have to admit now that I wouldn't be the greatest judge of this soccer scene at all. But like the famous Beatles song, I get by with a little help from my friends. And, well, there still is 16 game weeks remaining. A few teams will have double game weeks, and of course I still have my wild card, triple captain, bench boost to play yet. I'm weighing up the weekly advice from Eamon, Captain Fantastical Mick, and of course Mr. Hector, and I'm studying what they say, and I'm confident that I will bounce back maybe into the top 5.
Eamon, you look like you have something to say there. Yes, well, I have to say I'm touched on by the fact that you are listening to us, that you're taking the advice. I'm not sure the advice from Captain Fantastical Mick is kind of slim now at the moment. He's vanished off the Blackpool, so you're not going to really hear too much from him. And, well, I have to say, in my view, any advice from Hector now could be leading you down into a cul-de-sac completely. And but if you listen to me now, I mean, I won't lead anybody astray, and I tell it as it is. Look, thank you for those kind words I've listened to. Indeed, and look, sure, we wish you the very best. At least, as Eamon always says, some of these managers here are not proactive. They're not doing anything. Well, you can certainly say that again. Any of these lads down from 11th downwards, apart from maybe Silverstroke, they've more or less retired. They've hung up their football boots. They don't even do anything. But it's nice to see this, and it's nice to hear a manager here saying that they are going to bounce back. That shows me they have commitment. They have drive. Now, you did mention about Hector there, and of course Hector isn't with us today. That's unfortunate for Hector. He certainly, though, took a keen interest in your recent visit. Well, it's a couple of months ago now, actually, down in Moydu in County Longford. And you gave a recitation that night there. Our listeners, I'm sure, are very interested in getting your thoughts. I certainly know I am. And Eamon, you must be interested as well, in really trying to find out, why is it that Hector looks like he's bent on unmasking you for some reason? I mean, he's been up and down the countryside there. And I mean, he's been gallivanting up to Monaghan, and he's been getting messages and all sorts of stuff. I'm sure he took himself off up there to the market house on the wrong day altogether and made a holy show of himself. Any thoughts on that one?
Actually, I take it as a compliment, because remember, he did say when he first mentioned it on your podcast that he enjoyed the poem, and I think he wants to unmask me just to get more information about that type of entertainment. When I did that piece in Moydu, you could hear a pin drop. There was a marvellous audience, and I think Hector was maybe overwhelmed by the atmosphere and the reaction to it all, and judging by the verse that he composed. Remember the piece he composed himself for your podcast, do you remember that?
Yes.
In reply to my bit of banter. It's something I think that he might have maybe a go at himself, and maybe he might surprise us all, like, you know. That's my take on it.
Well, listen, he surprise himself. Like, he's constantly surprising us with what he goes on there. And now, you say that you admire him. Now, Owen, can I ask this? Do you think that Hector is showing some sort of ability when it comes to the recitation side of things? I know you've only heard the one little piece from him there, but I mean, in your experience, he's hardly going to make a future out of this, is he? I certainly hope he doesn't. We've heard enough of this guff out of him. Imagine him on the Late Late Show or something like this, giving recitals. I mean, he'd put everybody to sleep. So I would. Now, hold on a moment there, Eamon. Now, Owen, back to you though. Do you think he shows any capability? Can he adapt to this recitation business, do you think?
I think he can. You see, you don't know. Like, I mean, when you tell a story to somebody, you nearly always hear a story back. Like, you know, and it could be the same with poems. And maybe he comes from a country where storytelling and poetry might be popular. Like, I don't know much on that line. Like, so poems. To give him advice, or that poems have been written about every subject under the sun, and my advice would be to pick a subject that you know well and that you're comfortable with. Some people may say that, like, what I do is, because it's not really poetry, it's just rhythm and rhyme. And I suppose a lot of modern poems nowadays don't rhyme, and some poems can have several different meanings. I'd say don't be afraid to change, tweak or fine tune, or even scrap a piece if you're not happy with, and start again. The great poet Robert Service made several drafts of the poem The Cremation of Sam McGee, but he kept them all, and they're all on display in a museum in America alongside the very final draft, like, you know. So yeah, you never know, like, to say there's a book in everyone, and there could be a poem in Hector, surely, or a story, like, you know. He admires all this, like, you know.
All right. Oh, very good. That's interesting. Do you do many recitations, Owen?
Oh, yeah. Well, I would write wee small pieces, like, you know, start there for Bertus and that, and from 1840s, 50s, and things like that. But sometimes you can get overwhelmed by it all too. Like, that some people might ask you to write something, you might only have a day and to do it. And it's a bit like saying, you're a carpenter, could you make me a table for tomorrow morning? You could think of something and you wouldn't write it down, and then it'd all go out of your head then again, So it can be hard enough, like, at times too. But yeah, I would write wee pieces like that, all right.
That's very interesting, so it is there. Before we came on air, you happened to mention that you were on the radio and broadcasting yourself many years ago now.
Yeah.
You're quite interested in this. Eamon's ears kind of stepped up on this. Well, yes, I have a little interest in people who are broadcasting for themselves, setting up small little operations here. So you were on the airways. I think we've established this, Owen. Would you like to tell us a little bit about this? How you got into it, first of all, and the setup, the sort of equipment you were using. And were you playing music or were you interviewing people?
Oh no, we're playing music. Oh no, it's a long time back now. Actually, it's nearly 50 years ago, and I was a teenager in the 1960s when the first of the great pirate radio stations started. Radio Caroline, The Ship. And so we all tuned into the great music of the 60s. I think it was the best decade for music ever. But then in 1967, what they call the Marine Offences Bill in Britain closed down all the great radio stations, or pirates as they called them at the time. But here in Ireland in those days, sure, we had just Radio Erin. And so for a while after all that, there was a bit of a vacuum. But then in 1971, a man called Sean McQuillan from just outside Clonus in County Monaghan, he built a 30-watt medium wave transmitter and started broadcasting right on the border between Monaghan and Fermanagh. It was called Radio 99. And he broadcast mostly it was country and western music. And the troubles in the north was pretty bad at the time, and he got a few warnings and scares and that, and he went for a wee while, and so then he voluntarily closed down, even though he had a lot of listeners at the time, and it was getting very popular, And then there was a bit of a gap then again, and when things settled down a wee bit, I think it was about 1973, my brother Charlie and I were members of Macron and Ferryman Club, and so was a young man called Andy Slowey, who worked in Hayes' TV in Cootehill in County Cavan. He was an electronic wizard. When he was after building his own radio receiver himself, and Sean McQuillan had made a mark, he really had, and people liked that music he was played. And the chat came around one night about maybe somebody should go back on the air again or have a go at it. And so Andy said he'd have a go at it, and he tried to build, and he successfully did build a medium wave transmitter. It was fit to cover Cavan, Monaghan and Fermanagh. But mainly now we just broadcast on Sundays and Wednesday nights only, as we were all working, and Andy, Charlie and myself were the DJs. Now we didn't use our real names at the time because we thought it was better to do it that way. And we played Irish music, country and oldies and pop. But I suppose it was mainly country. We're living and working and broadcasting from the heart of rural Ireland. So it was mainly country, and that's what most of the people wanted, It lasted a couple of years, and then we were raided. They took all the equipment and we were fined, and that was the end of my radio career. My brother Charlie, he was a DJ now on a few other stations in the 80s, namely Town and Country Radio, Ernside Radio and Breffni Radio. At that time in the 80s, Ireland was swarmed with stations. There was lots of stations everywhere, CCR in Cavan and Bainside and Drogheda, and right across Midwest Radio was going well in Mayo, and the country was full of them. And Andy... after that then, Andy, he left Hayes then, and he started up his own business in Cavan, and is still going strong, and his successful shop is called Slowey's TV in Cavan.
Very good. Can I ask, what was your DJ name? Did you have one or did you have a few?
No, I just had one, Alan Gordon. We just picked out of nowhere.
Alan Gordon, I see. And when you say you were raided, who raided you?
Well, the guards came out and that, and they lifted all the equipment, the transmitters and records, all the whole lot, yeah. There was a court case then, all right. You see... at that time, there was a man called Conor Cruz O'Brien. He was the minister of what they called Post and Telegraph that time, and the feeling was like a transmitter on the border was kind of a dangerous thing to have, with the way the situation was, We just played what the people wanted, just simple music and for the fun of it. They might call you us pirates, but we didn't steal or do anything like that. Like, we called it free radio, they called it pirate radio, and there was a court case. We were fined £10 each or something like that, but it was right bit of money at the time for us, but that was the end of my radio career, all right.
Did you have an actual studio, or where did you operate out of?
We in a long country lane, an old disused farmhouse. Yeah. So we thought we were Larry Gogan or Terry Wogan sitting on a bale of hay with a pair of Wellingtons on us. Yeah. That's as country as you get. Have to keep the door closed in case a cow would roar or dog bark or something.
I remember years ago at Midwest Radio, somebody saying they checked the weather and they put their head outside and said it was starting to rain. That's many years ago there. So and you were never tempted, even after the raid and a couple of years later, were you ever tempted to come back into the radio business?
I always had an interest in it, all right, but no, I wasn't tempted. I wasn't. As I said, my brother, he was all right on other pirates or free radios, as I said there, in the 80s and that, but no, I wasn't, no.
Okay. You might be tempted now with the podcasting here, though. You might be a regular contributor to the show. Eamon, do you think we would have space from this gentleman on the show here, since Captain Fantastical Mick has jettisoned off to Blackpool? Well, I tell you, I think that we certainly will get more conversation, more stories and from Owen than we would from either Hector or from Captain Fantastical Mick. I have to say, Sophie, I'm enjoying this. This is royalty. This is real gold here, so it is. And I mean, Captain Fantastical Mick, the best he's come out with the Camino walk, and this rubbish about a passport that was missing for weeks and stuff like that. And this is all we could hear. Like, what did Hector bring? Hector got lost in the cage of fields, and now he wound up getting a pair of glasses, and he broke the glasses within a week. This is Hector.
Indeed it is. Okay, all right. Hector isn't here to defend himself, so I think we'll have to go easy there. And, as for Captain Fantastical Mick, well, he did do the Camino walk, so we have to give him credit for that. Now, Owen, we're building a picture here. You do the recitations, you were doing the DJing, you were playing the music and stuff. Other than that there, now...
You're building me up. I think it was somebody important.
Well, you're important in our books here now, so you are. Because, I mean, in fairness, some of our listeners might sometimes think, do these managers actually exist? Do they? And fairness, we have yourself here now today. We've had the Blightsome squad. We've had Jerry, who is present manager of the Good, the Bad and the Goalie. We've had Devon, who is now current manager of Canes Keeper. And we've also had Arkham Avengers manager on. So we're getting the managers in. So people are listening now to the real managers talking here. But getting back to my question here.
Yes.
You come across as a gentleman who has an interest in the arts here. Like, are you interested in the theatre and the, plays or acting? What about movies and that?
Yeah, well, I have been involved in bits of drama on and off all my life. My first bit of acting, I suppose, was in a short comedy sketch when I was just about 17 at the time. And I really loved it, like. Over the years, I was in a good few 3-act plays and a few pantomimes, all right. But not now in recent years. Like nowadays, myself and my wife, Kathleen, we go to the odd play and comedy shows and that now. And now that we're both retired, and we enjoy that, all right, But movies, okay. Well, in 1996, now just when you did mention, there was a film shot in Clonus called The Butcher Boy, and I got 30 seconds on the big screen as an extra, along with my daughter Catherine and son Stephen. Now that 30 seconds was my total film career from start to finish. But it was great. It was great to see how the whole film system operates. And I mean, we were there for it was a couple of weeks, and film loads of stuff, and that's the way it operates. And I was only just the 30 seconds on it, and we all enjoyed the experience at the same time. That's the way these movies, the film, and then you only see wee bits, like, but I did enjoy it, Oh, I forgot to say earlier, like, just when you were mentioning about films, when I mentioned Sean McQuillan, or the late Sean sadly passed away there a few years ago. There was a short 30-minute film made about Sean by a girl called Jackie Jarvis. In it, there was a great part about Radio 99 along the border, and Sean was a great character as well. And it's still on YouTube if anybody wanted to see it. It's a half an hour, and you just type in Sean McQuillan, and you can see that on the YouTube. It's still there,
Very good. That's very interesting. So you were in The Butcher Boy, 30 seconds there, you said there. And here, did you have any screen time with any of the big actors?
Well, they were all there at the time, all right. Like the actors, Ardal O'Hanlon, the local Monaghan actor, he was there too, and Sean McGinley.
Stephen Ray was in the movie.
And Stephen Ray, he was the father, and it featured a young lad from Killishandra, Eamon Owens. He was introduced by Neil Jordan, and there was lots of other actors. I just can't remember them all now.
You must have found that very interesting.
That's right. You'd be waiting all day there, hanging about. Now we got paid all right, and well fed, and the way it was all cut down and bits, everybody was the same. You'd be called and then they'd film a whole night, remember, but none of that part was all cut out, remember, one time. That's the way they operate.
That's how it operates. They have to edit it down there. Now, it's not like us here on the podcast, because when we're not editing anything down here, it'll all be nice and tidy. We won't be cutting out any of the segments on this, so we won't. But listen, and I have to say, fantastic stuff. Eamon, have you any comments about this?
I have to say that I said this was royalty and this was gold dust. It's certainly perhaps one of my most favourite interviews that we've had with any manager, and also the mystery recitation. Will you be going down to My Do to do a recitation again, do you think?
Oh yeah, I think that in rural country areas, the old 3-act plays, the recitation, and the people are into storytelling and that, and it still goes down well, at the drop of a hat, if someone can get up and do the wee piece, and if anybody can recite a poem or anything like that, I'd just encourage them to do so, because if you have a talent at all, do it. No point when walking after a hearse saying that boy could sing a song or he could recite a poem if nobody ever heard him doing it, only a few. So if you can do something, do it, and it's when the people enjoy it. Now, if they weren't enjoy it, you'd soon know it too, so when people enjoy that, of course, I'd go back to My Do, all right.
Yes, well, Eamon, you could be back down there. Of course, did you happen to see, of course, you'd been busy maybe, but Eamon and Captain Fantastic and Mick and Hector were down there in this church for the, it was a song of praise there, and they did hear you doing the recitation. Of course, they didn't quite catch your name, and then, of course, the whole big investigation started after all of this here. Eamon, now that, you're coming face to face again now with Owen here, what do you think about this investigation?
Well, I think that at this point, Hector should just fold up the camp here. He should pack away the tents, and he should just give it up now. We are sitting in front of the gentleman. We know who he is. He has spoken to us.
Yeah, but I quite enjoyed the banter and that. I'll be interested now to see what Hector will say about Raglan Road now when he realises that I am the manager and the man behind the mystery recitation man, as he says.
I would say that Hector is probably going to have palpitations, and he may not be fit for anything once he discovers it. And not only this, but he hasn't even been here today for this. So that's just a disaster. Owen, look, I think at this point, we're not going to hold up much more of your time, but I would like to just thank you for coming in.
Pleasure to come in. I enjoyed the experience and that.
Yeah, and can I ask, would you come back?
Oh, I'd come back, yeah. Behind a microphone after 50 years. I was a wee bit anxious.
I think you've settled in very well. What do you think, Eamon?
I think that we have a new member of the panel here. If Owen is willing to come in. We can do the telephone interviews as well, if you can make it down to the studio.
Yeah, I know, as I said at the start now, I may have a very limited knowledge of the whole soccer scene,
Have you not listened to Hector over the last several months? He does wishy-washies to the whole lot. He bandies about there as such. We're still trying to find out what exactly Hector's background is in the football. He played street football, he says, down in Brazil and in Spain and Portugal, and that's about it. At least I played soccer over in England. I know what I'm talking about.
But at the same time, he wants to reach out there. Like he's driving the show too, and the phone. You have to have. I think you still have to have him there. Like he shout outs as well. You see,
Don't mention those shout outs. They go on too long in my view.
but it shows that he wants to speak out to people. He wants to reach out to people at the same time. Like,
You know, we are reaching out. As you know, we have people in Iran and in Kuala Lumpur and in America and around the world listening to us. So something's going on there. So I don't think we should be kicking him out. Eamon, that's your phone going out there. Sorry, I forgot to silence that. I did there. Well, there you go. Well, maybe you should silence the phone and never mind giving out about Hector's lack of football knowledge there. I mean, he talks football. Each and every one of us to make some sort of mistake sometimes. We're not oracles on this. I don't know about that. I'd say I know quite a lot about this. I do. Okay, listen, I think it's time to wrap it up. Owen, thank you very much, and we look forward to having you back. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here on the show today, and I'm sure all our listeners are going to be on the edge of their seat when they hear about this, and also hear about all of the news there. And can we just say best of luck?
thanks very much indeed, and thank you to you and to Eamon here. And I enjoyed the show, and keep it going. Keep the crack going. All the best now. Thanks very much.
Thank you. It's very much. Yes, thank you.
And that's it. That's the interview.
Been very good. It's very enjoyable. I hope our listeners enjoyed it. I hope Owen enjoyed it as well, and all his family. And I just have to take an opportunity to thank him again and for talking about such things as the Pirate Radio and he touched on his football and his art there. Clearly a man who enjoys the entertainment side of life there, and I look forward to him coming back again. I was serious. If he's not able to come into the studio, we can always do the telephone interview. We've done it before.
Indeed we have, yes we have. And look, I'd like to echo Eamon's sentiments there and thank Owen for coming in. Folks, that's about it. We are going to wrap up now. We have the next game week. We are reviewing it, and that's coming out shortly as well. So stay tuned for that. And Hector will be back for that. And we will learn what Hector's response is once he finds out the mystery recitation man in my do turned up as the Raglan Road Manager. I think there's going to be a good reaction on that, I think. Listen, folks, thank you very much for joining us. Eamon, thank you for coming in today. Thank you. All that remains for me really to say here is mind yourselves, take care, and good morning to you, good afternoon, good evening, and a good night. Mind yourselves, stay well, stay safe. We will be back. Slán.